Ohayo gozaimasu, konnichiwa, konbanwa, sensei, senpai, tokohai. Welcome to my presentation on the Japanese taiko. Before we begin, I'd like to mention one quick thing, which is taiko versus taiko drum. In Japan, taiko means drum, so there's no point in having taiko drum. A little bit about me. I am 50% Japanese, Okinawan to be very specific, and I am also 50% Chinese. Why did I choose the taiko in the first place? Well, that started about 12 years ago with an art project, which was to create something that pertained to your ethnic culture. I was given the idea of the Japanese taiko 12 years later, which is now, and you can see the fruits of that labor coming in the form of this presentation. Where is this music primarily located? Well, that is Japan, but there's something I'd like to mention a little later on in the presentation. Outside countries include Australia, New Zealand to be very specific, which I'll talk about a little later in the presentation as well, Brazil, and North America. What makes the taiko different? Well, we can see from the aesthetics that we have the snare drum being held up by a stand, we have the kilo and pahu drum sitting on the bass, and we have the taiko being sideways and held from the front and back. We also have how they're played, so snare drums for the snare, or snare drum sticks for the snare drum, the hand for the kilo and pahu drums, and the taiko sticks for the taiko. Notable musicians include the Kodo, which are a taiko performing group based in Sado Island in Japan and have been based there ever since their creation. And special considerations for the IPC, or the International Pacific College in New Zealand, which I'll get to a little later as well. Before we begin more information about this, I'd like to show a little bit about what the Kodo actually is. So that was a little preview of what the Kodo group is. So, blending the past, how has it changed from when it was created to now? So, the past, it started out more or less like what you see with the Kodo, where you have the drums and you have the players. Well, it started out with being a mostly folk performing arts instrument. With the lack of restrictions from the ruling parties, or party in some cases, it was seen as something that could be, I guess, what music could be with the drums. Well, now with the present, we have groups such as the Kodo, who are based in Japan and spreading the taiko performances all throughout the world using different channels such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and blogs. And with the IPC, they're more accepting of anyone being able to play the taiko regardless of their ethnic background. They want to show that anyone can do that it's not just for the Japanese audience or for Japanese people to play. So popularity, I mentioned this very early on, which was, even though it is located primarily in Japan, is it really that accepted? Well, There's this great quote that I found in one of my sources, which is detailing how the taiko, even though it's one of the original instruments for Japan, it's not really seen as anything other than performance for festivals or folklore. So when you mention it in more modern music, people don't really accept that as widely, which is kind of a double standard since it is from the taiko is from Japan, but it's not as accepting as with other groups from Brazil, North America, and New Zealand. As for the audiences, it has great recognition with groups from North America and Brazil all over the countries, as well as another special mention for the IPC, which is it was originally supposed to be a Japanese only college, but it has since grown to accept anyone that wants to apply. And most of that is due to the fact that it is only seen as festival music. So, Taiko Abroad, this is the thing that got me most interested, is because I never really seen New Zealand as having a big influence or having been influenced by the Japanese taiko. And what they're doing with the college, with having anyone wanting to perform with the taiko or wanting to learn more about it, that really caught my eye, seeing as how with technology as it is, that it's being able to spread what the taiko is while still maintaining its original intent. So what does the future hold? Well, that's something that I leave up to anyone listening to this. As we've all heard, future, we don't know what it holds. It could mean that the taiko dies off in a few hundred years. Maybe it doesn't, but it's too hard to tell, no matter what the time period, where this will end up. And a couple of interesting facts before I wrap this up. So, a couple of movies, oddly enough, featured taiko, but not in their intended way. The Scorpion King, back in 2002, modified the taiko to have an Egyptian look, while the movie Lion King, even though I can't find any sources of this being true, had taiko music. And, well, as you can see, Disney did not have a fun time with having a copyright lawsuit with all that music. So here are the sources of information. If anyone would like, I will gladly post this in La Lima for anyone who wants to click it or learn more about it.